Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the Real Results Show. If you are ready to dive in, I want you to type in the word health into the chat, and we are going to send you our adverse childhood events assessment today, which is a fantastic handout. So make sure to drop the word health into the chat. Welcome to the Real Results Show, where we feature real health coaches and health practitioners getting real results for themselves and for their clients. I am the FDN Director of Course Enrollment, Piper Gibson, and this week I have Brandy Buskow with me, and we are going to talk about how emotions can affect your health. Hey, Brandy, how are you?
Hey, Piper, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. We are going to dig in, and I want you to tell everybody what prompted you to become an FDN.
Yeah, I had my own pretty tumultuous health history, but when I was a kid, I suffered with chronic tonsillitis and ear infections. And I also had a lot of stomach issues. And of course, conventional medicine, I had my tonsils removed. I was on antibiotics all the time. And then when I was a teenager, they labeled it as IBS because they didn't know what it was. So they just said, take Metamucil and you'll be on your way. And while it temporarily worked, the more I got into my 20s and I became an adult and I started dealing with the stressors of life, the IBS became unbearable to the point where I couldn't even leave the house sometimes. I was limited to crackers and water. My stomach was just so upset and it was so bad that I became desperate to figure out what was wrong. And I went to my doctor and she tried all these medications and nothing seemed to work. And then it was a snowball effect that the medications then triggered anxiety and panic attacks. And I ended up on antidepressants, which were good for a few months, but then after a while, I would just felt numb to the world and I didn't feel normal. And so luckily at the time, my grandmother was really holistically minded. She was seeing a naturopath and she brought me to one of her herbalist friends. And they, together with my doctor, helped me get off of the antidepressant medication and really be able to deal with my anxiety and my panic attacks on my own. And that also, the herbs also helped with my IBS. So I really learned early on in my 20s the power of natural lifestyle. And I started diving into really learning about it. That's where I started learning about EFT, or emotional freedom technique. And then I came back around to actually finding FDN after I had my daughter, because as you know, when you have kids, I had 3 kids at the time, you kind of forget self-care. And a lot of those symptoms came back and all the things I tried before just didn't work. And so I wanted to start learning how to do testing and dive deeper.
Awesome. I know you have been an FDN for quite a while, Brandy. So when did you graduate and how long did it take you to get through the course?
I graduated in 2014. So it was actually January 1st, 2014 is when I got my email telling me that I passed. And it took me just under a year to complete the course. And at the time I had 3 toddlers. So I was really only working on the course while they were napping and at night. So I would definitely say if you're doing this part-time, it's very doable and you can definitely get it done in a year.
Absolutely. I did it with 2 kids that I was homeschooling. So it's definitely doable. You can get it done.
Yes.
How did you build your business?
So I actually, I started working with another coach who specialized in fertility. And so I worked with her. She had her own social media presence and she had an infertility journey. And she was really looking for an FDN to be on her team to do the testing aspect of things. And so I really started to get in the groove and get practice with clients that way. And what I came to realize is that my true passion really is actually working with moms postpartum, because that's where I came from and where I started in the FDN course. Is I really knew their pain points of, you've had a baby, you're supposed to feel normal, but you don't ever actually really feel normal after you have a baby. You feel worn out, you're tired, your emotions are all over the place. And that's where I came from. And so I'm actually really passionate about helping moms to try to gain that back and meet them where they are. And not try to change everything at once because they're already overwhelmed with taking care of their family. So that's really what I focus on now. And I've actually dove deeper a lot into the emotional side of that with emotional freedom technique as a master EFT practitioner as well.
And what is EFT for those that are watching who have never heard of EFT before?
Sure. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping. So some of you may have heard it as tapping. And it's a modality that you can use to work on pretty much anything, but it works really well on emotions, emotional stress, traumas. And basically what you're doing is you're tapping on different meridian points, similar to the points that are used in acupressure or acupuncture. And as you're tapping on the points, you're thinking about the negative emotion or experience. And what it's doing is it's actually unblocking that energy that is stuck and allowing your body to process it and release it. And I have found that although many of my clients are very compliant, and I'm sure, Piper, you've probably experienced this too, they're very compliant, they're doing the diet, they're taking the supplements, they're working on all their stressors, but there's just that one thing that's missing that they just can't get over the line of where they want to be. And I have found that the emotional aspect is really the big piece that sometimes is missing with coaching.
I think so. Why do you think the emotional aspect is so huge for our clients?
I think one of the things that I've really experienced is I will start talking to my clients as I'm building that rapport with them and ask them, have you had any traumas in your past? What stresses you out? And most of the time they're, I'm okay, I'm good. Or I had this thing that happened when I was a teenager, but I'm over it now and everything's fine. But then if you start to really dig into, you can see that there's a lot of limiting beliefs. So they'll start using words that are really negative. They'll have a lot of negative self-talk, or they'll start to self-sabotage. And then they'll say to me, I don't understand why I always do this. I know what to do, but I just can't do it. And I don't understand why. And so that's when I will step in and use EFT. And we start to uncover these subconscious beliefs and thoughts that they have that they didn't even know were there. And that will then trigger emotions from some of the traumas in their past that they thought that they dealt with, but they didn't really. And so when we have those stuck emotions, we need to process them in order for our body and our physical symptoms to also start to heal and get better.
So the FDN protocol is dress, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. Do you apply this emotional work under the stress reduction part?
Yes. And so that S piece, the stress, is so huge. Like there are so many things with stress that you can encompass. There's no way that any one coach or practitioner is going to be able to cover every single aspect of stress. And this is why I wanted to learn more about EFT, because I was finding the clients I attracted really struggled with that emotional piece. And that's where the ACE questionnaire that we're handing out to everybody comes in. So ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Events or Adverse Childhood Experiences. And it was a questionnaire that actually was originally put together through the CDC. And they found that if you answer these questions, it's a series of, I believe it's 20 questions, and it asks you questions about things that happened in your childhood before the age of 19. And the more you answer yes to, the higher the likelihood is you will experience health conditions as you age. So these experiences in your childhood or traumas in your childhood, even though you thought you dealt with them, the more of them that you have, the higher increase you have for serious health conditions. And so, for instance, anything over 4 has a very high percentage of people turning to prescription medications and substance abuse, which is really interesting. Like we would think, oh, I've got it handled, I can handle my stress, but subconsciously, sometimes we don't. And that's where this questionnaire can kind of give you some clues. Maybe that's something that's going on for you. Or if you're a coach, you can use it in your practice to kind of get a little bit of an intake and say, they're scoring pretty high on this questionnaire. Maybe we need to really focus on some of that stress and emotional work so that they can move forward with their health.
That's totally fascinating. So before we got on, I, of course, had to take the quiz, and I was a 5. So very, very interesting. I'm absolutely going to dig into that some more, Brandy. If you guys are just joining us, you just started watching, drop the word health into the chat, and we are going to send you that ACE assessment, the document that Brandy was just talking about, this quiz. Make sure to drop the word health, and we are going to send you that. We have a question, Brandy.
Sure.
Melanie Dennison wants to know, would this apply to OCD type issues How would one go about using this? I'm supposing, Melanie, you're talking about the tapping to stop unfavorable behaviors.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually have used this with my kids. And so they don't have OCD, but my youngest son can kind of go towards the OCD tendencies where everything needs to be just right in order for him to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And so what we've done is I've used the tapping and taught him how to use it to control his emotions. And so when he's starting to escalate and his emotions are starting to get out of control, where he can't verbalize how he's feeling, but he knows it's just really intense, we don't actually even say words. I just tap with him and I just instruct him where to tap. And then within 2 minutes, he's like, I ask him what's wrong. And he's, I don't know why I was upset, Mom. Like, everything is fine. Now, translating that to adults, if there is an OCD issue with adults, that's where you can start to use EFT generally to just kind of see where they're at and start to uncover some limiting beliefs. And you will start to uncover some thought patterns that are kind of on a loop in their brain that they didn't know that were there. And then you can start addressing them kind of like layers of an onion. So as you start peeling away those layers, eventually you get to the point where everything becomes really loose and they all just kind of fall off. Or it's the analogy of chopping the tree down in the forest. As you start chopping the tree down, eventually when you chop enough, they start toppling over a whole bunch of other trees all at the same time. So EFT works similarly, where at the beginning, it may be difficult to find the trigger, but once you start removing those layers, you can actually start uncovering some limiting beliefs or some instances or traumas that may have happened in the past that may be contributing to their OCD tendencies.
So FDNs are really good onion farmers, I've come to find out, because we have so many layers of onions that we are always working with, whether it's the stress or the digestion or the different things that have to deal with diet. Like, there's always so many layers of things that are going on with everybody. So Brandy, something that we get asked about a lot and that we talk about regularly is practitioners, FDN practitioners, or people interested in FDN working in Canada. So I want you to tell us about how working in Canada and using the lab testing differs from what the rest of the FDNs in the US or even around the world might be looking at.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a question that I get pretty often. The reality is it's not much different. So because what we do in FDN is we are coaching people on lifestyle changes, we're providing education, we are not diagnosing. That is still within the scope of what a health coach can do in Canada. The only really big difference is that, yes, we are using the testing in the United States. So you do have to be aware of that with your clients, that the cost is going to be in US funds. So there will be a little bit of an exchange rate difference. Most labs are pretty good about shipping to Canada for free, but there are going to be instances where you or your clients will have to incur extra shipping charges. So you want to be aware of that. The other thing that I also like to explain to Canadians is that although we teach a good base of supplements in the course, not all supplements are easily available in Canada, but we have really worked hard to provide alternative suggestions through FullScript Canada. So you can easily source very good, high quality products here, and you don't have to worry about ordering them from the US and paying customs and shipping fees and paying the exchange rate.
That's fantastic information. And I think that it's really valuable to those that are in Canada that are really looking at the FDN course as a great opportunity for themselves. So how do you feel like the FDN community has supported you, since you've been in FDN for quite a while?
It's a family. So I have taken a few other courses, but this one by far really does feel like a family. And the level of support that you get while you're going through the course and even after you've gone through the course is above anything else. You could go into the Facebook group and post a question about a tough client that you have, and you will get so many people responding and helping you and giving you suggestions. You're never going to feel like you can't help somebody. You're never going to feel like you have a client that you're just like, I have no idea what to do. There's always somebody there with experience that can help you. And you could also, we have clinical advisors, we have mentors, we have Friday calls. So there's lots of opportunities for you to get support with your clients. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I love so much about the FDN community is the support in the family environment and feeling that you get from being part of the tribe.
100%. So I know that you are super busy working for FDN, but I would love to know how you work with your own clients. Do you work part-time, virtual, in person?
Yeah, so I work part-time. All of my clients are virtual. So I do most of my sessions, or actually all of my sessions via Zoom. And just the way we were taught in the course, we run the lab work up front, we do a really robust intake form, and then we do the test results review. And then afterwards, we kind of meet every other week to every 3 weeks, depending on the client. We check in to see how they're doing. And that's where I kind of implement a lot of the stress reduction and the EFT so that we can work on the lifestyle aspect of things in bite-sized pieces. We don't want to overwhelm our clients. So I like to break it up into small 20 to 30 minute sessions where I can give them bite-sized pieces and they have a little takeaway that they can do and come back and feel like successful because I didn't give them a lot of hard homework to do, something small that they could easily, tangibly do and come back and say, hey, that was easy. I feel so much better just by doing this small little change.
How can listeners get in touch with you? Do you have a website or social media handles you want to share?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So my website is bbhealthcoaching.com. BB for my name, Brandy Buskow. My last name's hard to spell, so BB's easier to remember. And I'm also on Instagram at BB Health Coaching. And you can also email me at info@bbhealthcoaching.com.
Do you have a number one tip, tool, resource, a piece of info that you've learned from FDN that has really made all the difference in your personal health or as a health professional?
Not necessarily a tip, but I think what FDN really taught me and what I've taken from that and I've taught my clients is the power of slowing down and really looking inward and listening to what your body is telling you. Mm-hmm. If you can slow down from the hustle and bustle of your life and really tune into your body, it's giving you some amazing clues. And once you hone that skill or you teach that skill to your clients, any given moment, your clients are going to be able to feel when something is off and they'll be able to say, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. That's probably why I have a headache today. Or I had a whole bunch of carbs and that's why I'm just craving sweets now. So now, they know why they're feeling the way they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing from FDN that I really love is learning that and then turning around and teaching that to my clients to really empower themselves.
Yeah, that was a huge thing for me going through FDN was really learning and being aware of my own body. Like I thought, mm-hmm. I know myself really well, but when you start to make all these changes, you really can get in touch with how you're feeling. And I've been able to teach my kids how to do it, which I think is super important because the earlier you can learn it, the better off you're going to be, I think.
Absolutely. And that concept I actually also took into my EFT training. So that's also helped me to teach my clients in EFT to really listen to their intuition and tune into their intuition to tell them when something doesn't feel right or when an emotion or feeling pops up that maybe they need to write down and we need to discuss at the next session and address. And it's been a really powerful tool. I haven't had one client who's come to a session and said, no, I didn't notice anything different. Every single time they come and say, hey, after we talked last week, this thought started coming up all the time that I never really recognized that was there. Or this symptom that I thought was normal that I never really paid attention, I'm actually noticing it and it's getting better. And so that really makes you feel good as a coach too, when you can teach that to your clients.
Yeah. Do you have a piece of advice you'd like to share with health coaches and professionals who might be watching right now?
I would say just continue to share your story. That was one thing for me that I was really scared to do, but it's actually really powerful to really share who you are, share your story, and don't think that you can't help somebody. I know as we graduate from a course, we get out there and we think, I don't know enough. Trust me, you know enough. You really, really do. Your clients are going to come to you, and yes, some of them have some really great knowledge, but they also are not an outsider, so they can't look in on their situation and kind of see their blind spots where we can. So remember that no matter what, you know enough, you don't need to keep learning, you have the tools. Just get out there and start helping people, and feel rewarded when they come back to you and say, thank you so much, I feel so much better.
And what about those people out there who are not FDNs, they're not health coaches, but they might be struggling with their own health, trying to get their own results? What do you have to say to them? What kind of advice do you have?
That's actually where I was. So I never intended to actually use FDN as a business to help people. My full intention to take the course was just because I wanted to find out what was going on with me. That really was it. I wanted to see what was going on with me. I looked at this testing through other practitioners. I looked at work. I actually worked with a naturopath for a year before I took FDN. And the amount of money I spent with that naturopath and pricing out testing to do on my own was a lot more expensive than just taking the course. And the bonus of the course is you can then turn around and help other people.
Yeah. So tell us one more time, Brandy, how people can get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you.
Sure. So you can catch me on Instagram at BB Health Coaching, or you can go to my website, bbhealthcoaching.com, and I have a contact me page, and you can send me an email from there.
For those of you who might just be joining us, make sure to drop the word health into the chat, and we are going to send you our ACE assessment quiz. You're going to be able to take that and you will get that. But Brandy spoke about it earlier. So if you're watching the replay, make sure you drop the word health in there so that you can get a hold of that ACE assessment. Do you have any other takeaways for anybody today, Brandy?
No, I just wanted to, say hi to everybody who's here. Keep coming and watching all of these success stories. I, even myself, find it very empowering and refreshing to see all of the different health coaches that are going through the course and having them share their experience and see who they're helping. It kind of gives you that motivational boost to just keep going, keep pursuing, and to shut down that inner critic that says, I don't know enough and I can't help people. So just keep pushing through.
It is absolutely my favorite part of the week to get on here with everybody who comes on the Real Results Show and get their story and share their information, because I learn something every time, and I think everyone else out there learns something every time. So it's great to have everybody on. So thank you so much for being on the show with me today, Brandy, and sharing your insights with others so that they can get those real long-term sustainable results for themselves and their clients. Thank you again. We will be back here same time next week. Next week, I am going to have Jen Maleka on with me. We have some great things to talk about. So make sure to join me next week, same time, same place. And if you are interested in taking the FDN certification course, go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/counselor, and you can book a call with myself, Jess, or Kelly, and we would love to talk to you about the course. So thank you again, Brandy, for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.